Hey guys, Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training. I'm just laying here on a hot day. It's about in the hundreds today. So all we're doing is keeping the dogs cooled down by spraying them down periodically. And I just went and got Luna. She's on the bed with me, being a rambunctious little dog. Her maturity is finally starting to click in, so it's nice. When puppies are real young, they're like floaty little butterflies, and they don't, their brain doesn't know how to settle yet. They don't know how to settle, and it makes it a little tough. And she's just starting to get over that and starting to go to that next maturity stage. It's one of the big reasons we don't start training in specific of heel, sit down, stay that much, other than food luring. We don't start doing some of the other stuff until they're about 4 or 5 months of age. I don't even like taking a dog in from a customer until they're at least 4 months of age. So there's a reason for that. Most of you guys know that I'm a balanced trainer. And balanced training means that I advocate correcting and corrections and using other correction tools when I need to. Okay, I'm not a purely positive, which means only food, only motivational, and never correct the dog. And they're out there. There's people that think that that's the only way to train a dog, and that think that you're being wrong when you correct a dog. Reality is that we all learn from corrections. Okay, we all learn from adversity. All right. I've talked about this before, and you guys have probably heard my spiel in this regard, but it's real easy for me to explain it. If I go through a door and the door is real low and I'm a tall person and I smack my head on the top of that door, how long does it take me to learn to bend my head? Okay? If I pick a pot off the stove and I go and grab it and I don't have a pot holder and it's boiling water and it's a hot pot and I grab that handle and I burn myself, ow! How long does it take me to use the pot holder? Every creature on God's green earth learns from consequences, either positive or negative, okay? And when something good happens with that consequence, you're going to be more advantageous to learning. Something negative happens, you're going to learn from that negative, okay? And it's just a fact of life. Does that mean that I'm purely negative and I want to sit there and correct my dog all the time? No. I'd much rather go to a positive. That's why we use luring, okay? Food is a very positive thing. It's a primary motivator for a dog, okay? So are toys, and so is activity that gives the dog an outlet towards directing that toy play and that energy level towards things. And that's what toys are all about, right? So there's some rules when it comes to correction. I want to kind of go over this in regards to how I work with my customers. The biggest rules is that your correction should be done and over with. Okay? There should be no lasting type of a thing. It's a good example of why I don't have, when I go out and I do agility, I always clip my dog to the flat collar. I don't have any correction at all because I want to keep things purely positive as much as I can and not have any force that's being used that could create any negativity in the dog's mind when you're trying to grow the dog's confidence towards doing something they may not be so secure of. So you're there to be a support, you're there to be as positive as possible, and there's no corrections involved, right? Think about corrections as far as a pinch collar, okay? A pinch collar is designed to lay on the dog's neck all the time and then to be able to be tapped, and that's an instant type of correction. So timing is very important. When the dog gets the negative is very important as regards to what you're trying to achieve. But the most important things as far as dealing with corrections is involved is that one of the main rules the correction should be done and over with no emotion. Okay, it should be matter of fact, done and over with, and you move on. Okay, a lot of people they're emotional. We're an emotional creature, so we want to sit there talking to the dog. Our emotions come out of our voice, our body language. Everything denotes that you are upset. Okay, and when you show the dog that you're upset and you're frustrated, and you're saying no, Dan, and that to a dog is weakness. Okay, because in the dog's world, we have corrections that are just done and over with. Okay, and a good way of explaining that is, let's say the puppies. The puppies are eating, they're getting in the way of mom, and mom's trying to eat, and mom cuffs them. All of a sudden, a cuff. What do I mean when I say cuff? It's a loud, guttural, and it's a snap. She snaps at the dog, she pops him real good, and the puppy will go, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." It's done and over with. There's no animosity involved with it. Okay, these things in the real world, as far as dogs are concerned, are just done and over with. You touch this, you end up getting burned. Okay, if I touch that pot without a pot holder, boom. Okay, it's that quick. So there are a whole probably a half a dozen, maybe even close to a dozen things that I use that type of correction, and it's very quick. It's done and it's over with, and it works. It's just done. But my world doesn't revolve around that anymore. Nowadays, I live in the world of motivation. live in the world of luring, using food to lure the dog into a position, versus the old school when I was way back in the 70s when I first started. You would place the dog into a sit, you would pull back, and you would push down, and you would create an aversive. I would pinch on the back of the dog's hips and create a pain type of a stimulus, and then I would say sit, and as soon as the dog was in a sit, I would release that, and I right away praise. Okay, so that's pretty much all aversive. Nowadays we have luring, and we don't use an aversive, something that creates a discomfort. That's an aversive, where you have to push the dog into a down, and you pull the dog into a down. That's an aversive, right? Versus luring, where we take the dog and the dog's following the food. Wherever their head goes, their body must follow. Okay, so if I take that food and I raise it up and back and away, back into the position of the dog, and then going backwards, the dog's going to naturally go into a sit position. It's very natural. So, but there are some distinct rules when it comes to correcting the animal, and that's what I'm trying to go over right now. Okay, the first rule is that your correction should be done and over with. Timing is very important. When you do that correction, you nip that dog with a correction, should be done and over. And then the last one is there should be no emotion coming from you. Okay, there should be no angst coming from you and frustration, because when you show the dog that type of a behavior shows the dog weakness, and the dog will take advantage of it. See how many people that go out there, the ladies have a hard time with that. They get so frustrated, they get upset, and the dog doesn't comply and doesn't seem to be learning from their corrections. There's a reason for that, because in the dog's world, that frustration is showing weakness. And the dog senses it as weakness and starts trying to fight you all the more. Your job is to have a correction the dog respects and wants to avoid. It's avoidance, and it's a classical conditioning with avoidance and escape training is what they call it. Okay, and that's a scientific term for it. Okay, but using that type of a method, you want to be done and over with. And it doesn't mean that I use it with everything I do. It's just when I do need it, I know how to use it and apply it, right? So timing is very important. A good example of that is Luna. Luna has a tendency to be biting, not with me, but with the owner. And the owner is very concerned with this. Why is she biting me? Why is she doing this? Okay, so dogs very naturally at a young age, at her age, she's going to naturally bite because she's teething. Okay, and this is the way the dog communicates. They use their mouth. Okay, so when the dog would be biting, I would throw my hand out there on purpose and cause that behavior. And right when the dog tries to bite on me, I say, nope, it's done and over. There's no animosity. There's no emotion from me. If the correction is just done over, then I will go and I will put the hand out there again, and I'll try to cause the behavior. About the second time, they may do it twice, and I'll bring my correction level up a little bit as far as how much force is behind that little pop that I'm doing, right? Jerk pop. Jerk release is what you used to call it. They call it a bunch of things, but it's the action that matters more than anything. It's that instant reaction to be able to nip your dog, and that's why I call it nipping, because I want you to think of it that way, right? And then the correction is done and over with. And if I throw my hand out there again and the dog goes for it again, I bring my correction up a level that she wants to avoid the next time. Then I'll take my hand and I'll do it again, and then I'll get a little what I call a double take. The dog will kind of go, wait a minute, I'm not that stupid. You just corrected me twice for this. And they'll kind of look at you and they'll hesitate and they'll not shy away from doing that behavior again. And as soon as you get that double take behavior from the dog, you right away change your voice tone. Good, good. And you show the dog that that's the right response that you're looking for. Throw the hand out there again. The dog does that double take. Good. And I'll very calmly, I'll take my voice tone to very calm. Good dog. Good. Very calm stroking of the dog, and you're denoting to the dog what you're after, which is calmness. The biting and all that comes from excitement, comes from chasing prey, right? So the biggest rules, again, your correction is done and over with. You nip it in the bud real quick, and there's no emotion and there's no lasting emotion from you. You're not going to sit there and write a book and talk to them. Dang it, I get real mad at you when you do that. You do all this, it really ticks me off. Dog doesn't care, okay? It doesn't matter to the dog. Your timing involved with the correction matters, right? So that's the general rule when you're coming into corrections and what you're doing with the animal, okay? And we'll go over this a little bit more as we go along, but when you're going to be using an aversive, you're going to use a correction, timing is very important. Correction's done and over with, and there's no animosity and there's no lasting emotion from you at all. It's just matter of fact, done and over with, right? That's what happens in the dog's world. So I'll let you guys go, and that's just a little discussion on aversives and in regards to that. Doesn't mean that's what I live by. I don't. But there are times that I have certain things that I do these because they get them. The problems are done and over with real quick, and it's done and over with, and I can move on to building the dog, and I don't have to dwell on it. Okay, it's very important. So we'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Mark Ferrasci, ProTech Dog Training, kicking it in the high heat of the high desert in California. Thanks. Bye-bye.